All right, let's get into it. We're going to peel back the layers on something that's, well, it's a lot. It's complex, it's raw, and it's super personal. Think of it like a journey right into the heart of the American facade, what accountability really means, and one person's incredible story of resilience and power.
Wow, that quote right there, it just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It points out this huge hypocrisy. How a society can be totally fine with a story of someone struggling, but the second they start to win, suddenly everyone gets a little uncomfortable. It's a real challenge to our collective comfort zones for sure.
Okay, so let's peel back that first layer. The whole argument here is that America doesn't really operate as a dream. It's a brand. A meticulously crafted brand with a very specific and kind of hidden purpose.
So the idea here is that the whole American dream thing, it's basically a marketing campaign. You know, it's this perfect, shiny image painted on top to hide what's really underneath, the cheap, flawed stuff. And the diagnosis for this obsession with the brand, it's captured in this really clever twist on a classic phrase, keeping up with the Joneskies. The point is that this American ideal was never really authentic. It was this imported kind of counterfeit fantasy, all designed to keep up a very specific, whitewashed national identity. So, you gotta ask, what's hiding under that patriotic eggshell paint? And the source does not hold back. It argues this shiny brand was built to deliberately cover up a foundation of, well, a lot. Stolen labor, displaced people, broken treaties, systemic oppression, and even outright genocide.
Okay, so if we accept that America is a brand built on a lie, where do we go from there? The argument insists we gotta stop with the vague blame game and get specific, and that brings us to this idea of precise accountability.
Which, of course, leads to the big question, right? If we're not just blaming some vague system, then who, according to the source, are the actual architects of it? Who built this thing? Well, the guiding principle here is integrity. And the argument goes that real integrity isn't about finding scapegoats or just pointing fingers everywhere. No, it's about precisely identifying the people and the powers that created and maintained the system, and then holding them responsible for what they did.
And this is where that idea of precision gets really concrete. The source doesn't just say, oh, it's the system's fault. It names names. It points to the architects, the colonizing elites, the heirs of plantations, the lawmakers who literally wrote bigotry into our laws, the media architects, and yeah, even the academic institutions that rewrote history to keep certain people in power.
Now, this leads to a really, really important distinction. The source is crystal clear. This is not about blaming all white people. Not at all. The blame is aimed specifically at the racist for being racist. It's targeting the actions, the ideology that keeps the system going, not an entire group of people based on their heritage.
And just to be super clear on this point, the source absolutely acknowledges that slavery has existed all over the world. It's a global tragedy. But it makes a very specific claim about the United States, that the particular brand of chattel slavery we had here was unequivocally a white-led scenario.
Okay, now we're getting to the very center of the onion. This is where all that big political critique gets grounded in something deeply personal and incredibly complex. This is the view from inside the machine.
I mean, just look at this. This is a snapshot of the insane cross-currents this person was navigating from a tiny kid. We're talking about an African-American child growing up in an all-white town who knew they were gay at age 5 and at the same time deeply felt they were a girl. Wow, this is not a simple story. It's a life lived at one of the most complex intersections you can imagine.
And that identity, it wasn't set in stone. It was always evolving. This timeline shows this incredible journey over decades. I mean, from being a child praying every single day just to wake up in a different body to feel normal, to then, in their 30s, finally feeling comfortable as a guy, and then, in their 40s, embracing this fluid dual existence. It's truly a journey of becoming who they are. And this is where the self-analysis gets incredibly raw. The source draws a direct line from their attraction to white men to their upbringing, calling it a kind of systemic grooming. They use the phrase Stockholm syndrome to explain a desire that was shaped by the very power structure they're critiquing. It's a lot to take in. This right here might be the single most important statement in this whole thing. This is not about racism for me, but also this is about racism for me. So what does that even mean? Well, the first part seems to be a rejection of personal hate. But the second part, it's this deep acknowledgement that the system of racism has touched and shaped every single part of their life, even their most intimate desires.
It's a paradox you can only understand through lived experience.
And that brings us to the final layer, the absolute core. And I gotta say, it gets even more raw here. A recent, life-altering trauma has completely changed the game, building a whole new kind of defense mechanism.
Yeah, there's just no way to soften this. The source reveals a lethal betrayal by people they were intimate with. That statement just hangs there, doesn't it? It explains everything. The shift we're about to see isn't some intellectual exercise. It was forged in an actual fight for survival.
So the results of that betrayal? Well, in their own words, it just puts a damper on the whole wanting to have sex or having anyone around. The desire for that kind of intimacy just goes to zero. And it's not a choice, it's a traumatic rewiring of the self.
But what's so fascinating is how this response is framed. It's not presented as damage or a weakness. It's called a firewall, a powerful automatic survival instinct, almost like an unexpected gift of safety, built as a direct result of what others did.
And this is where that theme of evolution comes right back around. Just like their gender identity evolved over time, so has the relationship with intimacy. This idea that you don't have to be one thing forever, it shows this embrace of their current self-protective state as just another valid chapter in a life that's always unfolding.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that this is not a story about being a victim at all. It's a story of resilience, of reclamation. It's about claiming a victory over a system that's designed to shove you in a box, to simplify you, and to degrade you. And that leaves us with one last, really provocative question to think about. It reframes this entire journey. It asks us to really consider the immense power that's unleashed when you turn a story of suffering into an epic of survival. What happens then?